Hello, welcome to Trainer Takes, episode 3. Trainer Takes is a series where I give my unfiltered opinions on topics I read about in my blog relating to performance and longevity. I release a new blog every Friday on my website, trainwithmiles.com. Link is below. I also release videos just like this one every Monday right here on YouTube. So if you enjoy content like this, like, subscribe, share, do all the things. So that way I know that you enjoy content like this, and I'll keep making content like this, and it will be delivered right to you. Okay, let's jump into the fun stuff. Today's episode 3. We're talking about sleep, and more specifically, what happens when you don't get enough sleep. What actually happens? Because we all know you're supposed to sleep 7 to 9 hours a night, blah, blah. What actually happens? And so we're going to break this video up into 2 separate sections. The first one's going to be physiologically, what happens when you don't get enough sleep, both acute and chronically. And the second section is going to be how you, the average person, not those Brian Johnsons of the world out there who are dialed into a T and know exactly the minute they have to fall asleep and wake up, but the average person who has a social life and has a job and has responsibilities, that sometimes misses their sleep window and yada, yada, yada. How to course correct and how to give yourself the best chance for high quality sleep to allow you to perform and live the healthiest life that you can. Okay, so let's jump into it. But first, you might be saying, Miles, you're a trainer. Why are we talking about sleep? Stick to your lane, talk about training. Yes, granted, all right, no need to attack me, just saying. The reason I'm talking about sleep is because sleep is arguably one of the most important things that you can do for your body outside of obviously drinking water and eating food and exercise. But you can't do those things correctly if you don't sleep enough, if you're not able to recover from the stress you're putting your body under. Like I mentioned in my previous video about muscle mass, exercise is a stress on the body. That's all it is a stressor. And in order to overcome that stress and to get stronger or move faster or improve your body composition or whatever your goals are within strength training, you need to be able to recover from that stress. If you don't recover from that stress, all you're going to be doing is digging yourself deeper into a hole. And the best way to recover is not actually through saunas and cold tubs. Believe it or not, it's actually sleeping. I know, boring, boo, no fun, it's not sexy, but it is true. If you sleep 7 to 9 hours a night consistently, you will be healthier than somebody who sleeps 5 hours a night and hits the sauna at 5 in the morning and convinces you that they are tougher than you mentally. Sleep, trust me, that's going to be your biggest bang for your buck. Now, when we're looking at sleep specifically, like I mentioned, 7 to 9 hours. It's pretty black and white right there. Your friend that tells you they can thrive off of 4 hours a night of sleep, wake up at 4 in the morning to crush, is lying to you, and frankly, is probably lying to themselves. And what they've done, and I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm just saying the vast majority of people that claim they can sleep on 4 hours a night can't, physiologically can't. All they're able to do with that sleep is they are tricking themselves into being able to perform at a moderate to high level, granted, in a state of sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation is simply getting less hours of sleep than you need to maintain daily wakefulness. So if you're trying to wake up before dawn and you are exhausted midday, you have to take naps in the middle of the day, you're sleep deprived. That is literally the definition of sleep deprivation. So instead of saying I need to wake up before everybody else does because I'm mentally tough, say, let me give myself another hour or 2 of sleep and be able to be productive throughout the whole day, not have to take a nap in the middle of the day. When we're talking about sleep deprivation, there are 2 forms of that. There's going to be chronic sleep deprivation and acute sleep deprivation. Acute means, let's say one night you pull an all-nighter because you have a crazy exam, or your boss needs you to do this whole big project and you're just staying up late to work on it. So you don't sleep for that night and you are just, you're exhausted, right? But you only do that once in a blue moon. It only happens occasionally. The other nights you sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. That's honestly not that bad. That happens, whatever, you'll get over it. You will sleep and make up for it in the next coming days, and you probably won't experience any sort of negative health effects from that. Now, if that happens consistently, like every once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, then we need to adjust a little bit and maybe talk to your boss about setting some boundaries. But that is out of my scope. So you do you. So that's acute sleep deprivation. Now, what we're more concerned about is chronic sleep deprivation. And you may be thinking chronic is like, oh, I'm only sleeping 2 hours a night. I have insomnia and I cannot fall asleep. Yes, that is chronic sleep deprivation. But chronic sleep deprivation also includes people who stay up a little bit past their bedtime and routinely get an hour, maybe 2 hours of sleep less than they need per night. And I'm guilty of that myself. You know, Stranger Things is on, and they're notorious for leaving you off on that cliffhanger where you're like, oh, I have to see what happens to Mike. What's going to go on? What's going to happen to 11, right? And so you stay up because you're like, oh, well, it's only 1 more hour, right? That can't hurt. And then you do that every night or every other night, and it starts to build up over time. So shout out to the Stranger Things directors for making the cliffhangers unbelievably cliffhangery, making us stay on. But all I have to say, I'm guilty of this myself. But this is also what chronic sleep deprivation is routinely getting an hour or 2 or 3 less sleep per night than you need. Again, 7 to 9 hours. And we might say to ourselves, what's the big deal? It's 1 hour. But when we do that consistently, what actually happens is we see similar biomarkers to people who have chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, heart disease, those types of diseases. That means that our cortisol increases, testosterone decreases, and we have higher levels of global inflammation. And all of those are correlated to chronic diseases. And if not treated over time, can lead to those chronic diseases. That's right. Even if you eat right, you move your body consistently, and you're doing all the things right, you can still get chronic diseases from literally missing an hour or so of sleep per night consistently. Now, this isn't to scare you. This is just to say, like, that hour of sleep is very important. Your time in bed is very, very, very important. We are, as humans, biologically wired to need to go to sleep for 7 to 9 hours. So if you skip sleep, you're really just harming yourself. You're not able to recover from the workout, number one, but that's like the bottom of the barrel. You're just increasing your inflammation and all these biomarkers that are going to lead to poor health outcomes down the road. So do not get that, so do not underestimate what just 1 hour of sleep can do. Find a routine, stick to it, and get into bed. That way you can sleep for 7 to 9 hours. And it's very clear across all of the research that is very, very, very important. So, hope I made my point that you should enjoy your nights without a doubt, but you should also make sure that you're getting into bed on time. Now, let's talk about how to actually course correct for the average person. Let's say you have a family or you have responsibilities, and what are we supposed to do? I can't fall asleep on time. I don't know what my circadian rhythm is. There's a whole thing there. And we're not going to get too into the weeds here, but the thing that you guys all probably heard at one point in your life is your circadian rhythm. And your circadian rhythm is just basically a 24-hour clock that responds to different stimuluses that you give it and promotes sleepfulness and wakefulness. That's basically it. Now, your circadian rhythm is very correlated to temperature and light. Light will increase the secretion of melatonin, which is their kind of quote unquote sleepy hormone, which promotes sleepiness rather. If you are staying up late and you have screens on and lights on and you're just in this like very light filled environment, your body thinks it's still daytime, so it won't secrete as much or any melatonin, which means that it'll be harder for you to fall asleep. Which is why you'll always hear online people saying, turn off the lights, dim the lights, red light glasses, blue light blocking glasses, blah, blah. Just dim lights. You don't need to go crazy with all these glasses and certain bulbs and this and that. Just dim your lights at night. And then you'll probably secrete more melatonin. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to buy into all these things to buy and stuff like that. Now, the other thing that your circadian rhythm is very in touch with is temperature. When we're up and we wake up and we're moving throughout the day, our body temperature is higher than when we are asleep. And when we're asleep, you'll notice a drop in your body temperature. It's just totally normal. No need to stress out about this. But this allows us to make better decisions come the end of the day. Maybe instead of working out later in the day, you work out maybe in the afternoon or in the morning. The reason is that when you exercise, your body increases its core temperature, which is opposite to what we want to be able to fall asleep. Now, some people like to exercise before bed and they feel like they can sleep better when they do that. Kudos, go for it, all power to you. This is just the biological mechanisms behind sleeping, and it is a lower core temperature. What this also means is that doing a cold tub or a cold shower or something like that probably isn't ideal at the end of the day, because when you're in the cold tub, yes, your core temperature will drop because you're obviously surrounded by ice and cold water. But when you get out, what your body does is it works really, really hard to reheat your body, which is, again, opposite of what you want to fall asleep. So on the counter end, maybe you take a warm shower, a warm bath. Even if you have at your disposal a sauna, you can have a sauna at night, and that will, yes, raise your core temperature. When you get out of that environment, your body will drop your core temperature, which then will promote a state of sleepiness. And for anyone who's used a sauna, myself included, when you get out, you do feel, I'm just talking for myself here, much sleepier. You wake up and you get out and you go, oh, I need a nap, because your body's dropping its core temperature, promoting that sleepfulness. So maybe prioritizing those two things in the right time is going to be helpful. The other thing you can really do is just put down your screens. Eat meals a little bit farther from bedtime, maybe 3-4 hours before bed, just so your digestion isn't going on right when you're going to sleep. That could also keep you up at night or promote wakefulness when you're up at night as well. You don't really have to go crazy here. If you wanted to just do the bare minimum, and I'm talking the bare minimum without buying or purchasing anything, I would say around whenever whenever the sun starts to set, drop your lights and keep them low until the rest of the night. That's step one. Step two, take a shower before you go to bed. Warm shower, doesn't have to be long, 5 minutes, just a quick shower, get you fresh, jump into bed. And that might help you to fall asleep faster and promote deeper sleep. So I wouldn't really buy into all these other things like the beds that cool and heat the mattresses and stuff like that. If you want to invest in that, again, by all means, but really all you have to do is just keep your core temperature low, and that by taking a hot shower, that can help, and keep the lights dim to promote that natural secretion of melatonin. So I'm not going to talk too much about supplements or at all about supplements. Melatonin is a big one. People think that taking melatonin will help them. I am not recommending any of that. I'm not going to talk about that because that is out of my lane. I would talk to your doctor about that, but really you don't need to stress out. All I want you to get out of this video is that hour of sleep that you think is not that important, that you can watch another episode on Netflix, is very important. And if you do that consistently, where you just stay up an extra hour, that will lead to decreased health outcomes. It will. If you do that occasionally, like on a Saturday night or whatever, again, that's the acute sleep deprivation, not a big deal. If that's acute. Chronic is where we want to avoid. Then the last thing I'll leave you with is just when you're trying to go to sleep and you want to promote this state of sleepfulness, pick a time range that fits best in your schedule. Maybe if you have to be up by 8 o'clock for work to start work at 9 or whatever, you count back 8 to 9 hours and then you give yourself an hour window there. So let's say you're going to bed at 8 o'clock. You're waking up at 8 in the morning. I would say between 11 and 12, you should be in bed, with 12 being the absolute latest. That way you do get 8 hours of sleep. You can even go to bed a little bit earlier there, but you can shift this forward and back. Just make sure you stick to that window consistently, even on the weekend. So don't be crazy and think I have to wake up at 3 in the morning because my favorite influencer is doing it, so I have to go to bed at 4 in the afternoon. No, pick a time that works for you, because you are the only one that's waking up with yourself. So, and then just keep the lights low, and make sure your body temperature is low. Don't jump into a cold tub right before bed. That's basically it. If you do those things, you'll probably have a higher deep sleep and higher quality of sleep rather, and you'll probably be able to fall asleep a little bit quicker, and you won't need to invest in all these gadgets and gizmos out there. If you want to, and these tips are not helping, definitely talk to somebody in person, see if there's a specific thing that you are doing that you might not even have noticed, and you can fix that with that trained professional. But that's all I have for you today on sleep. Get your sleep. Don't buy into the cliffhangers on Netflix. Just go to bed. I promise you it's going to be totally worth it. I'm telling this to myself too because I do it. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Peace.